All right, thanks for tuning in, everyone. This is Anthony Smoak. Go ahead and check me out on anthonysmoak.com. Definitely hit subscribe here on YouTube. As always, if you learned something, go ahead, hit that like button, leave a comment, and make sure you ring the bell so you get a notification when I drop a new video. So today, I'm in Tableau Prep. I want to give you another intermediate level project that you can recreate using CDC data. So I'm gonna show you where to go out to the CDC website, grab some data. We're gonna use Tableau Prep to shape the data. It's always a good idea to know how to shape your own data so you're not relying upon someone else to give it to you. So we're gonna use Tableau Prep in this video. We're gonna shape that data, then we're gonna build out a tile map. Always wanted to learn how to build a tile map, and I figured I would pass those learnings on to my subscribers here on the channel. So this is step one in the video series. We're going to be in Tableau Prep, shaping some data, and then in the next video, I'm going to show you how to build out some tile maps. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so before we get into where the data is, I want to show you some of the visualizations you can build out with this data. And so I've got a tile map here, animated tile map. And so if I, hit play here, you'll see my cases is the blue square here, and they start to grow. You can see Cali start to grow here, Texas, Florida, and our red squares are the deaths per that state from COVID. And so I got the idea for this type of tile map. Well, first I wanted to learn how to build a tile map, but I got this idea, inspiration from Chimdi Nwosu, does fantastic work with tile maps. And so he's done a tile map with Makeover Monday. I really like the look of that, so I figured, hey, let me see if I can figure out how to build that out. And so here it is. So we're going to find data to support the build out of this tile map that I'm showing you. Okay, so this is a little bit more of a take on an animated tile map. So this is more of my take style here. So what we've got here, and I can put this in motion. Let's go ahead and start it here, maybe around May, June. Let's go ahead and show it here from a daily standpoint. And so what we're looking at is cases on a per 100,000 people basis, not on an absolute basis where we would see California having the most cases. This is going to be on a per population or per 100,000 basis. So right around maybe November of 2020, we'll see an initial spike. If you can remember. So if I just fast forward this a little bit, September, we'll let it run here fast. You'll see we'll get a little bit of a spike here, or not a little bit, we'll get a spike here in North Dakota. Again, North Dakota doesn't have the most population, but on a per 100,000 K basis, it started spiking here, that original spike before we really had the vaccines. And then you'll see a Delta spike also happen probably around September. So September 2021. So you'll see it looked like we were out of it for a while there. And then as we get into maybe September, let's go July, August, we'll see another spike take place here. Let that run. Right, we start getting a little spike here in September. You'll see not, again, cases per 100,000, not as much as the initial spike here, but still a spike here from Delta. And then as we move into the end of 2021 here, we'll get another spike, unfortunately, from Omicron. But again, the point here is to show you, you can build out this kind of time-lapse tile map with the data that I'm going to show you how to get. And so you'll see, what's interesting in the CDC data is it breaks out New York from New York City. Right, so I had to for the data set, I supplemented with a population data set, and I had to break out New York from New York City. And so you can see we're getting a huge spike here at this point in time, 504. That's a lot for NYC, but again, we're definitely trending up. So you could build this out. This is more of a Andy Kriebel style. So Andy Kriebel also has a video on tile maps. You can check that out. And so wanted to see, this is static, just looking at total cases. You can see the trend here. Again, this is population driven. So obviously California is going to have the most, Texas, right? You can just kind of see what that trend line looks like. And I really like this technique on having that box back here, so you can get that kind of outline for each one of your area charts here. So pretty cool technique from him. Check out Andy's tile map videos as well after we shape the data. Okay, so wanted to show you, the types of visualizations we can build with this data. So now let's go ahead and show you where to get the data. Okay, to get the data built, to build out some of these visualizations, the tile map visualizations, we're going to go to data.cdc.gov, right? Doesn't get any more official than that. And let's select the data catalog. And then once you're in the data catalog, look for United States COVID-19 cases and deaths by state over time. So let's go ahead and select that. And we'll get to this point. And you'll see, it's been downloaded, 4.95 million times. We can take a look at some of the columns in here. We're not going to use all of these columns. So we're going to use Tableau Prep to shape this data. So for instance, I only want total cases and new cases. And then over here, there should be a total deaths and new deaths. There's new deaths, and there should be a total deaths, right? So those are the columns that I need to support my tile map. So we're going to use Tableau Prep to shape this data, and we're going to pivot the data as well. So I don't want data in columns. I want it in rows. So we're going to use a pivot columns to rows in order to shape this data. And so what you can do, we can actually view the data. It'll take you here. It'll just give you a better view of it. But ultimately, what you want to do, export, and you can choose CSV. I mean, you can do CSV for Excel. Either one's fine, but I'm just going with the CSV. So I'm not going to do it here because I already have it downloaded. You can see here. Let me bring it up. This is the data once you have it in a CSV file. And again, we're going to pivot this. We're going to shape this in Tableau Prep Builder. And once we do that, I'll show you the end result should look like this. So I have a submission date, and then I create a couple dates here to support the animations, the movement in the tile maps. And so I'll have a month. So for every submission date, I want to back it to the first of that month. And then I also want to back it to the first of the first Monday. I believe that's the first Monday of that week. And for each state. And then this is a column that's just saying, hey, is this the first of the month? So if we look at the, most of these are going to be no's, but if I look at the Y's, you'll see here that this 2-1 is equal to this 2-1, right? This is the submission date. This is the 2-1, that is the submission month year that we create a calculated field for. And so that's going to be a yes. And so for the week, right, if I go in here, this submission date is 2-3, the first of the week is 2-3, so that also gets a yes. So that helps with looking at a snapshot, right? So I can look at a snapshot on a monthly basis. I can look at a snapshot on a weekly basis just by filtering on the Y's. So that's why I create these two columns. Date rank, I just kind of threw that in here. It's just ranking these by state and by date, submission date and state. So all these are 1, these are all 2, so on and so forth, just helping with sorting. And then these are the specific values that are going to be pivoted based upon the field names that are pivoted, right? So obviously we're going to start out with 0 in the early days for a lot of these values, but as we get further along into the dates, we have values that support our specific metrics here. So just showing you how what this output is going to look like once we pivot it in Tableau Prep. All right, so enough of me talking. Let's get into Tableau Prep. Let's shape some data. Okay, so we are in Tableau Prep Builder. Let's go ahead and connect to some data. We're going to connect to that text file that we just downloaded. And then in this first step here, we're going to get rid of some fields. We don't need all of the fields here. So just watch what I unselect here, and then I'll review it here at the end. And we don't need these last few fields. So what I've kept the submission date, the state, total cases, total deaths, and new deaths. So that's the only thing that I've kept those are the only fields that I've kept from this first step. So let's go ahead and add a clean step. And so it's going to show our fields, only the fields that we kept. And so anytime you're looking at data within this clean step here, so let's look at submission date. So it's showing me by year here. So if I go in here and just see how summary selected, I can say detail. If I want to see literally every date, I could do that. I could also do that for my measures as well. I'm going to go here. I'm going to change this. Okay, so thought it was going to be date and time. We'll keep that a date. And I could change this if I wanted to a geographic state province. So let's go ahead and do that. It's the first thing we should do. Make sure our data types are looking good. All right, so now I'm going to go into state here, and I want to filter. We want to filter selected values, and I'm going to use the exclude step, and we'll wait for some values to load. It's thinking about it. It's going to give me some options, and so you'll see I have some exclamation points here, meaning that this value is not a geographic role. And so I want to remove my territory. So I'm going to look for AS. I'm going to look for FSM. I'm going to look for GU. Let's see, MP and PR. MP, and I want PR and PW. There's PR. PW, and then I want to look for RMI and VI. So RMI and VI for Virgin Islands. And one thing I'll point out here in the data set, let's look for New York. You'll see we have a New York and a New York City. New York City data is reported separately from New York data. So New York is really everything except New York City. So just keep that in mind. So we should have DC in here as well. I did not exclude that. So we're going to say done, and we've got that filter going on our states. So now let's create a couple of calculated fields based off of the submission date. I'm going to select the submission date. I'm going to create a calculated field, and we're going to call this submission month year. So based upon the submission date, I want the first date in that month, right? So let's go ahead and do a date trunk. And then this has got to be lowercase, otherwise it's not going to work. So month is what we want to back up to. And if I close that, it's going to say the calculation is valid. So if you look at date trunk here, just as a refresher, in the example, they hard-coded date. We're using a field, they hard-coded date, and they're backing it up to the quarter. So given that 2004, August 15, 2004, is the hard-coded date. They want to back it up to the quarter, so that's going to be the first date of the quarter, July 1st, 2004. So that's how that works. So you can put month in here, you can put week. So I'm going to say save here. And you'll see I have a submission month year calculated column shows up, and let's go ahead and change that to date. There we go. I don't need the time. And we're going to do the same thing, except it's going to be from a week perspective here, with an EK perspective. Let's create this calculated field. So same thing, submission week year. And then based upon that submission date, I want to trunk lowercase week. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It'll say the calculation is valid, but it's not going to work. And then I'm going to put a third argument here because I want my week to start on Monday as opposed to Sunday. Since we're taking snapshots, in some of the tile maps, we're going to be showing the data every one day a week. So I want that to be on a Monday. Sometimes Sunday, not all the data is reported on Sunday. So we're going to go with Monday here. Although you could keep it Sunday. But anyway, that's what this third argument does. Start my week on a Monday. And let's save that. And we have 2 new calculated columns here. And we should be able to see some data. And same deal here on the submission year. I want to make that. Okay, so that is a date. Was I looking at the wrong one? Yeah, I was looking at the wrong one. Let's make that a date as well. And anytime you want to kind of get a better look at your data, you can go to the data grid to get a feel for it. There's my submission. These are my 2 calculated columns that I just created. So let's go ahead and... All right, so that does not want to expand. There we go. So those are my 2 calculated columns. So let's take a look at this first row. Submission date. Well, let's take a look at the second one here. This is probably a little better. So 5/31 is the submission date. The first date of the month is 5/1. And this must also be a Monday. 5/31/2021 must also be a Monday because it's the first day of the week for this submission date. So that is what we are doing here. Now we're going to create 2 new calculated columns. These are basically indicators. And so let's go ahead and create a calculated column based off of submission month year. That's fine. And so what I want to say is if the submission month year is equal to submission date, then Y else end. And we're going to call this first of month. Shout out to Bone Thugs. First of month. All you 90s hip hop fans know what I'm talking about there. Let's go ahead and hit save. So we got a first of month. Calculated field is going to show up. And then so we have yes, we have some yeses and we have some nos. Obviously, when we use this field, we're going to filter for the yeses to get that snapshot on a monthly basis. If we even choose to use this first a month field, but we definitely use the submission week. We're going to create a first of week field here as well. So let's create the calculated field. Same concept here. If this is equal to submission date, then yes, else end. All right. Calculation is valid. Mikey likes it. So let's call this submission week year. No, sorry. This is first. Sorry. First of week. Let's call this first of week. Little question mark in there. Lowercase that. All right, first a week. This is our indicator essentially. So we'll save this, and we can take a look at this in the data grid just to make sure that we are seeing what we expect to see. And so, all right, so this is a first of month because the submission date is a 4/1, and our submission month is a 4/1. Right. So now let's find there's a first of week. So this is a first of week because the submission date is 5/31 and our submission week year is 5/31 as well. So that indicator gets yes. So that's how we filter on the specific values on these dates. So last but not least, let's go ahead and create a pivot step. So we can shape the data in the manner that we need it to support our tile map. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a pivot step next. We go here, and pivot, and then we have columns to rows. That's what we want to do. We can even look at the icon. We've got columns here moving into rows. If we needed to switch that for whatever reason, we could do rows to columns, and you'll see even the icon switches, right? The row is moving up to columns, but I'm going to Control Z out of that and put us back to columns to rows. So what do we want to pivot at this point? We want to pivot our new case, new debts, total cases, and total deaths. All right, so those values are going to be pivoted. And so I also want to create a calculated field that's just going to give me a rank. So let's call this date rank. And then let's do one of these, order by, of course. So when you put order by in, it automatically puts in the braces that you need. So what do we want to order by? We want to order by the state and ascending. So I'm used to using SQL where ascending is the default and you have to put descending, but Tableau Prep is a little bit different. That's okay. Submission date, also ascending. And then we're going to use the rank function. And the calculation is valid. So basically by state and submission date, give me a number. So let's save that. And we can see what that looks like. If I go to the data grid here, and let's move some values over. And let's put this in order, just to show you that you can put these in order. Let's say I bring the state all the way to the beginning here. That's something I can do. And then let's say if I want to put my date value, so I'm going to select submission week, hold down shift, and select these other columns, and I can move these next to state if I want to, just to get a better feel. And I'm going to put date over here. So you can see that date rank helped me, because now by state, I have my submission date repeated 4 times. I can see what my week is associated with that date, and I can see what my month is associated with that date. And I got that date rank. And the important thing to note here is that I have my, these were previously columns. Now they are in their own row. We did columns to rows. So now these are in separate rows, and the values associated with those respective columns are now in a field of their own as well. So that's pretty cool, very powerful here from Tableau Prep Builder. Can I do this? Let me see if it'll let me do this. So if I wanted to change this to field, whoops, if I can type. If I want to change that to field names, will it let me take that? If it doesn't, it's okay. I'll just back out of it. Field names, it did. All right, so now pivot one value. So we can go in here, we can rename this. I'm just going to call this field values. FIELD, field values, hit enter. And did it take? Yes, field values and field names. And then I have my 2 indicators with respect to my dates. So, all right, you can see the power here of Tableau Prep Builder for shaping your data. And so this is what we have to do. Again, going back to the tile maps here, this is what we have to do to get the data in a format where we can animate it. And again, in the next video, I will show you how to build out this viz. And then, if I get some good commentary, likes or what have you, we'll get into building out maybe the animated by day tile map as well. So it's on a daily basis. We can see the cases per 100K for each state's respective population. Okay, last but not least, we have our data pivoted. Now we need to create an output step. So I'm going to go here to output, and then I want to change the output type. I don't want to output an extract file. I want to output to a CSV, and then I can change the location. I'm going to go here to browse and not there. I want to throw it on my desktop. I've got pivot data example output, and so I want to call it, I'm going to put underscore pivot here, right? And say accept. So it should output to my pivot data example output folder. And now if I run this flow, I can just hit run flow here, and it's not going to take long to run. Finished. Okay, 4 seconds. Go ahead and hit done. So now if I go back in here, and I can show you, I'm going to bring over this. You see I have this pivot. So let's take a look at it. And oops, let's go ahead and take a look, and we can see that this is indeed the file that we pivoted. There's my Alaska, it's my date rank, and as I move down, right, I've got values in my respective fields, and you can see the states are changing here as well. So this is the data set we need in order to build out our tile map. And so stick around for the next video where I will show you how to build out this tile map. As you can see, this is by week. We use that submission week, and we use this first of week filter in order to build this out. So we've got cases and we've got deaths by state. So again, I'll show you how to set up the data so that we have a tile map, and this will be a nice intermediate project for you. So again, this has been Anthony Smoak. Hope you learned something today. You learn how to shape data in Tableau Prep Builder. You learn where to get that data from cdc.gov. So stick around for volume 2 in this series. As always, get out there, do some great things with your data. Thanks for watching, everyone.